Okay, so welcome to tonight's webinar, which as you can see there is all about goals and attitude. These webinars, I do a series of 8, as you can see there, and they're all recorded, and I'll show you when we get to the end where all of the recordings are, so you don't have to wait for another week for the next one. If you wanted to catch up with any of them, you can catch up with the recordings from last time. And as you see, tonight we're doing number 7, which is goals and attitude. And I just basically go around one a week every Wednesday evening. Starting off, numbers kind of 1, 2, 3 are all about the catalogue side of the business, really. The first few days and weeks, building your customer base. Numbers 4 and 5 are more to do with team building. And then 6, 7 and 8 are more about building yourself, kind of your own personal skills. The other skills, apart from learning how to put a catalogue through a letterbox and learning how to send some information to somebody about the business, what other skills do you need? And hopefully tonight's will be useful in that area as well. So what we're going to cover tonight is a bit about your attitude and whether it's important or not. How does that affect your success? And if you agree with me that your attitude is important, then how can we work on it if you feel that it's something that you could improve? I also talk about goals and goal setting and goal achieving, and they're both very important, and I recommend, and I'll explain how and why, that you spend a bit of time on goal setting, even if you've just started. In fact, especially if you've just started. Goal setting can make a huge difference to your attitude and your success in the business. So, great question. Is your attitude important? Well, what I would suggest to you is that every distributor has exactly the same opportunity when they start this business. We all start off with the same 250 catalogues. Our catalogues all have exactly the same products in them. The costs are all exactly the same. You know, we all have a few overheads, and we all have the same payment plan. Nobody earns extra commission than anybody else because they live in a different part of the country or anything. So the opportunity that we all start with is exactly the same. But some people will be more successful than others. And the main reason why that's the case is their attitude. Just as a little example, how do you feel when you get up in the morning? Maybe you're thinking, well, I don't care if it's raining, I'm going to get those catalogues out, whatever it takes. I said I was going to do it, it's on my plan, so I'm going out. Or maybe you're thinking, oh God, it looks a bit grey and miserable out there. You know what, I probably need to tidy the garage up. I think I'll probably do the garage today and see if I can get the catalogues out tomorrow. And what you'll find is that successful people do what they know they should do, even when they don't feel like doing it. And that's really, really important. When you start to put together a plan for how you're going to grow your business, you should stick to the plan. You don't sort of think, oh, well, I'll stick to it if I feel like it. Because there's always going to be some reason, some excuse for why you might not do something. And your attitude, whether you do it or not, is what makes such a big difference. So, as an example, having a great attitude helps you to put your catalogues out, even if you're feeling a bit down. Maybe the last time you picked the catalogues up, you didn't get many orders, and you're kind of starting to wonder, oh, is this right for me? It also encourages you to chat and smile with your customers. Maybe even if you're not feeling great, you're walking around, it's a bit grey and miserable, or it's a bit damp. You see somebody coming out with a catalogue and you don't feel really like chatting and smiling to them. You're feeling a bit grumpy. But if you've got a good attitude, then you'll chat and smile to them even if you're not feeling great yourself. And all of those things, putting the catalogues out regularly, chatting and smiling with your customers, help you build this great rapport with your customers. And when you have a good rapport, what you get is customers who are loyal, order from you regularly, and will order from you, even if you're away on holiday for a while and you don't deliver your catalogues as every 4 weeks as you were going to, you may be a week or two late. Your customers will stick with you and they're loyal because they've sort of seen you through thick and thin, as it were. What else does a great attitude help you with? Well, if you're getting into the team building side and you're putting out some leaflets, even if you're feeling a bit under the weather when you get up in the morning, having that attitude, the can-do attitude, helps you to put them out even when you don't feel like it. It encourages you to make those follow-up calls. So you put your leaflets out, you've had some responses to them, you're feeling a bit nervous and you're not sure what to do, but you know that this is what you should do, having that great attitude helps you to make those calls, even if you're feeling a little bit nervous about it. And it's those activities, when you're feeling a bit under the weather or a little bit nervous, it's those little extras that bring in that extra team member this month. And the bigger the team, the bigger your residual income. So having that attitude about, putting your catalogues out, being cheerful with your customers, doing the leaflets even when you don't feel like it, doing the follow-up calls even when you're a bit nervous, if you compound that over a period of time, that's going to increase your weekly orders from maybe £250 to £500 a week. That can increase the orders of your team as you start to bring extra team members in to maybe £2,000 or £4,000 a week. And that difference in your income can be huge. If you compound all of this kind of the benefits of having that great attitude, as I hope you can all see there, your attitude just makes such a big difference to your income. So, if, and I hope you do, you think your attitude is important, what can you do about it? How can you kind of make yourself do things when you're not feeling up to it? Okay, one of the things that makes a big difference I've found is what we're going to call your life philosophies, and I'm going to talk a lot more about that next week in number 8. But as a starting point, success really makes a big difference to your attitude. If you're feeling successful and you know that what you're doing is working, and you can see that your income is rising and that your number of customers is going up and your weekly orders is going up, all of those things helps with your attitude because you know you're doing something right. So how do you achieve that success? Well, a great way to do that is to achieve some goals. And that's why we're going to talk a bit about goal setting. Achieving goals, setting and achieving goals, and doing it constantly is a guaranteed route to success. And I'm a big believer that goal setting is really important for yourself, and that especially if you're team building, it's really important to do it with your team as well. Because a lot of new team members will never have done any goal setting before. They kind of have an idea when they join the business of what they're looking for, but they kind of don't really have a way to go about doing it. They just kind of have a vague idea in mind that, oh yeah, if I start doing Kleeneze, I'll get an extra £100 a week. But it's a bit kind of vague, and there isn't a plan towards how they do it. So, if you're going to start doing a bit of goal setting and achieving some goals, the first thing that you'll need to understand about yourself is, what are your reasons for doing Kleeneze? What is your why? Because typically what happens is you set a goal, and that could be anything. It could be, you want to hit the 10% level, so you're earning whatever that would be, £220, £250 in a month. So you set that goal for yourself and you create a plan. So what is your plan? Maybe you're putting your catalogues out once or twice every week and speaking to half a dozen different people every week about the business to see if you can get some team members. And you start to make those first steps. So you put your catalogues out. I've had lots of new starters. They get really keen, really enthusiastic. They put 250 catalogues out and they think, oh, it's fantastic, I can't wait to do my pickup, see how many orders I've got. And then some obstacles appear. And those obstacles can take all sorts of different forms. It could be just that you don't get a great pickup. Or it could be that when you go back to collect some of your catalogues, you get somebody grumpy saying, oh, don't deliver that catalogue round here. Or all sorts of different little things. You start to do some team building, and one of your best friends who you thought would be really interested says, oh no, I'm not interested in that, don't worry, don't ask me about that. And so you start getting a few little obstacles. And that can really, really put you off if you're not prepared for it. If you set yourself some goals and you achieve them really easily without any obstacles, it's probably that your goals are not really ambitious enough. But if you've got a strong reason why, if the reason for you earning the extra £250 a month was really, really strong, if this is kind of, to be able to pay your rent each week, so that you don't have to move back in with your mum or whatever it might be, and you've got a really strong sort of reason for doing that, then that will motivate you to overcome those obstacles. And what I think is a really good thing to do when you're thinking about your reason why, and I do recommend you kind of sit down with a piece of paper and think about this, if your reason is emotional, rather than just having it, some people sort of say, oh yeah, well, I want to be able to hit the 10% level, which is fine, it's a good goal, but it needs to be emotional. There needs to be some reason behind that. What would you do with the money if you're earning an extra £250 a month? What would you do with that? Is that to help you pay the rent? Is it to be able to take the children for a pizza and a film every weekend? Whatever's important to you, but make it emotional. And if you can link your family to it, I often find that family-based goals are very successful. I'll give you a little example. Somebody put a plank of wood on the floor in front of you, just a normal plank, wherever they are, 6 inches wide, about 20 feet long, something like that, and asked you to walk across it, and they'll give you £20 if you can kind of walk across the plank. You do that, no problem at all. You kind of put your hands out a little bit to balance as you walk across. If I then took exactly that same plank of wood and took it up 40 floors to the top of a skyscraper in London somewhere, and put it between two tall buildings right next to each other. So top floor, all you need to do is walk across exactly the same plank, take exactly the same amount of time from one building to the next, and you can have £20 if you do it. You might then think, God, I get lost. I'm not going to risk my life just for 20 quid walking across this plank that's just balanced across there. So at that point, you might think, I'm not sure that I'm going to do that. But then suppose your child, your young daughter, your young son was in the other building, and that other building was on fire, and there was no way he or she could get down the stairs. The only way you could rescue him was to walk across the plank and then help him back across the plank again to your side of the building. Would you do it then for 20 quid? And of course the answer would be, yeah, you wouldn't even think about the money. Whatever it took, you might sort of get someone to hold the plank at this end, you might go across on your hands and knees, but whatever it took, you would get to the other side. So those obstacles, the kind of moving the plank to the top of the building, when there wasn't a particularly strong reason for doing it, you probably thought, nah, I'm not going to bother. But when you do have a strong reason, those obstacles just become things to get round. Whatever it is, you will get round it. And the example of the plank is just, you could use that for whatever. If it's putting your catalogues out to earn the extra money to pay the rent so you don't have to move out, that's a strong reason, and that will overcome any little obstacles that you might come across. So having that strong reason really makes a big difference to your motivation and your attitude. So when you start thinking about setting goals, so when you've got that motivation, your strong why, whatever that is, as I said, maybe it's just to sort of improve the lifestyle of your family. And in terms of setting the goals, I think a great thing to start off with, and this was a phrase that Neil Young mentioned at the Kleeneze conference in Bolton a couple of weekends ago. Ask yourself the question, what would you change in your life? And obviously the answer for all of us is different, but hopefully you can sort of sit there at the moment and you're thinking about your life. What's good in my life? What would I change? What would I improve? And if you can write down some things that you would change, then that's a great place to start with your goals. And what I tend to suggest is you start off setting some short-term goals first. So if your first goal was if someone said, what would you change in your life? And your first answer was, oh, well, I'd get rid of my old beat-up Mini and I'd buy a new Ferrari. Then that's a great goal, but it might be a little bit kind of long-term, the cost of a Ferrari and insurance apart from anything else. So I would say start off with something a bit easier to achieve, if you like. So it could be something that you can achieve in the next 1 to 3 months. Maybe it would be really useful to have a new laptop. Maybe the one you've got now is falling to bits, constantly needs rebooting. It makes it really hard for you to do any work. It's hard for you to keep in touch with friends via Facebook or whatever it is you use it for. So that might be an example. Or maybe you've got kids that really love Big Dippers and roller coasters, and you'd love to be able to treat the kids to a day at Alton Towers, but maybe that means staying over at a hotel on the way up there or something like that. So maybe that would cost a little bit and you couldn't afford that at the moment, but that's something that you might achieve if you've earned an extra £250 in your first month. That might be what you'd spend the money on. So if you've got some examples of a goal that you can think of that you would really like to achieve in the next kind of 1 to 3 months, then write that down. It's useful to kind of have a goal in your mind that you're aiming for. Maybe then have a think about what would you do in the medium term. So the medium term goals are probably going to be a little bit more ambitious, and it might take you a bit longer to achieve them. So 6 to 12 months rather than 1 to 3 months. So an example might be, maybe you've got a big credit card debt that you've built up, a lot of money, and every month you're having to pay off lots of interest, and you can see that it's just money draining out of your bank account every single month that you don't want. So to be able to pay that off would just be such a kind of release from that stress and the worry. Or maybe you'd like to save up for a family holiday. Maybe you haven't been abroad with the family for years and years and years. You'd love to be able to go with all the kids to Spain for a week or something like that. Maybe that would cost you £1,000. So might take a few months to get to the point where you're earning £1,000 a month, or but you could build it up by saving it up over the next few months while you're doing your Kleeneze business. But again, write down a medium-term goal, because that will help when you come towards overcoming those obstacles that I suggested. And then another great thing to do is to then think even longer term ahead. And these can be really exciting goals now. We're talking 1 to 5 years ahead. And once you get into this routine of setting goals, you can set even more ambitious ones. But maybe your goal would be to put a deposit on a new house. Maybe you've been renting for a long time, you're sick of renting, you'd love to be able to own your own house without having to worry about the landlord evicting you or anything like that. And so to be able to save up and have enough for a deposit on a new house might be a great goal for you. Or maybe you've got a car, but you'd just love to have a brand new car, a new Mercedes, something like that. And it's something that might take 2 or 3 years before you got to that point. But again, having long-term, exciting goals can really help with having this vision of what you're going for. Why are you doing this business? So there's some ideas, a few ideas. Hopefully you've got some ideas of your own that you can make a note of, or at least have clear in your own mind. What's the next step? And the next step obviously is to achieve that goal. And whether your goal is the holiday, the laptop, the new Mercedes, the question you need to ask yourself is, how do you achieve that goal? It's all very well spending some time cutting out pictures of Mercedes from magazines, but how do you get there? So the route to achieving any goal is to take some actions, because those actions that you take, if they're kind of disciplined actions in the right direction, will produce some results. So bear with me. What we're going to do is just fill in this little table here. If you remember earlier, we were talking about short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. So let's suppose your short-term goal is that new laptop. I don't know how much that would cost you, a few £100s, but you could work out, what actions do I need to take to be able to afford, I don't know, £500 for a new laptop. And maybe what you need to do is just build up a customer base so that you're earning £250 every month from your customers. 2 or 3 months later, you'll have enough for that new laptop. So your actions are to put out your catalogues, 200 catalogues, twice a week. If you do that over a period of time, you've got a really good chance of hitting that 10%, and you're building up that customer base at the same time. Maybe you're also wanting to do a little bit of team building, because that will help to increase your income. So maybe while your catalogues are out, you're going to be delivering some leaflets on the other days while you're waiting for your customers to put your catalogues out for you. So on those days, you deliver 500 leaflets twice a week. So by taking those actions, you might not be able to just produce a laptop just like that by not doing anything, but by taking those actions in a disciplined way every week, those are things you can control. You can decide with your attitude whether you put your catalogues out twice a week. You can decide, by having a good attitude, whether you put your leaflets out twice a week. And by doing those things within 2-3 months, you'll have enough money to buy that new laptop if you follow your actions day in, day out. Okay, let's move on a little bit. If we now start to think about that family holiday, so that's a bit more expensive maybe than the laptop. What might you have to do to achieve that family holiday? I mean, you can work this out yourself or with the help of your upline, but maybe You just continue blanketing your catalogues, 200 catalogues twice a week. Keep doing that every week until you've got a good strong customer base of maybe 500 customers. If you're delivering your catalogues to 500 customers every period, you're going to be hitting 10% pretty constantly. You might also decide you're going to talk to 10 different people every day about the business. These could be leads that have come in from your leaflets. It could just be people that you speak to during the day normally, when you're queuing at the post office or anything like that. Whatever the actions are, whether it's relating to your retail side or the team building side, by taking those actions consistently, then you will produce the results, the family holiday, if that was what you were aiming for. And this is exactly the same for longer term results as well. Maybe when you're looking for something big like that, you need to really get focused on your team building side. So maybe you're going to be generating 30 leads a week. I remember when I first started, my sponsor Bob Dalton said to me, if you're generating 30 leads a week, you should have a growing business. And that's what I was aiming for. I wanted my business to be growing. I didn't want it to be just static week in, week out. So I've been trying to generate 30 leads or more every single week. And maybe you decide once you've got a team, you want to run some training for them. Maybe that would be running a weekly webinar or something like, exactly the same as I do here. It's not difficult. Anybody can learn how to do a webinar. All you need is a computer and a little bit of training. But by doing that and supporting your team and building a growing team, you might get to the point where you're earning enough so that you can buy that new Mercedes. So the whole point of this little table, what I'm trying to get across to you is that setting goals, like the laptop, the holiday, the new car, is great. But you also need to put into place daily disciplines for the actions that you can take. Because every morning when you wake up, you can decide whether you're going to take those actions or not. And as I said there, if you start off with small actions, just putting those catalogues out, everybody who joins the business has 250 catalogues out. You can certainly put them out once a week. If you can get them out twice a week, then you're obviously going to build your business twice as quickly. And that will lead to big, big results. And what you're finding is that every week you're getting a small success. So whatever it is, you're just, even if that success is, yes, I've successfully put my catalogues out twice this week, and I'm going to continue doing that. And every week you're ticking off on your list, yes, catalogues out twice this week, catalogues out twice this week. So you're getting more motivated each time. And every month, maybe you're achieving one of your goals. So a short-term goal. Once you've hit the laptop, you don't just stop there and think, okay, that's it, I've done it now. What you start doing is you start realizing that by setting the goal and following the actions, you're getting successful. So you set another goal. Maybe instead of the laptop, it's you want a brand new mobile phone. You're looking for an iPhone or something like that, or maybe whatever it might be, paying off your debt or moving on to one of your bigger goals. So every couple of months you get a bigger achievement, a bigger success, which makes you even more motivated. And then maybe once a year you achieve one of your long-term goals. I know when I first started, one of my long-term goals was to get on one of the Kleeneze conferences. And it took me 2 or 3 years, because I was really sort of struggling and couldn't work out what I was doing wrong. And then suddenly, once I achieved it, went to Miami, 2012. Then suddenly last year I went to Dubai. This year on target to get to Venice, and still on target for Jamaica as well. So suddenly, having achieved a goal once, you start to get into a habit. You get this momentum of repeatedly doing those actions that achieve the success. And you just get more and more successes, and it becomes kind of addictive. So, if you're achieving long-term goals every year, you become seriously motivated. And all of these things, do you remember when I started off talking at the beginning about how can you improve your attitude? All of these things improve your attitude. And little obstacles that get in the way regularly, they're not even obstacles now. You're just so used to bypassing them and overcoming them that it takes a lot more to put you off your stride. And it's all to do with just starting off, taking little actions to build small successes that get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, if you're coming on this journey with us, what will you expect? Well, a good comment I heard somebody say the other day was, any path without obstacles is probably not leading anywhere worthwhile. And that's very true, really. I think, a lot of things, if you're going somewhere on a journey, whether it's a kind of a personal journey or a physical journey, if it's really easy and you can do it without even thinking about it, you're probably not achieving very much. If it's challenging and there are obstacles to overcome, then it's probably going to be something pretty exciting when you get there. And excitement is certainly what a lot of people start off with in this business. And I see this all the time. People start off and they're really excited. They've seen the opportunity presentations. They've got an idea of what they're looking for. Whatever their reasons are for joining Kleeneze, they're really excited because suddenly they can see an opportunity to get them out of wherever they are now and get to something that they're really excited about. So they start off and they're really going to do everything, whatever it takes, to become successful at the business. I'm going to be the next Bob Webb, I'm going to be the next John Hawkes, whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. And then sometimes you get a little bit of self-doubt. You pick your catalogues up and you get, oh, not a very good pick up that time, I wonder if this isn't a very good area. Or you start to speak to a few people about joining a team, and you get a few kind of negative people saying, oh yeah, no, my sister-in-law tried Kleeneze for a couple of days last year and it didn't work, so I don't think it's going to work for me. And suddenly you start to doubt that you can do it. And what can happen then is you get in what we call the pits. And that's basically just, it's a very normal phase, happens to everybody. It's just when those self-doubts start to build. And it can happen within a couple of days. I had a guy joined just recently, so excited I couldn't believe it. Did his first pickup, picked up, I can't remember, 3 or 4 orders, £50 worth of orders, and he was really, really disappointed. And suddenly you could just tell that all of his enthusiasm drained away in about 2 or 3 hours. And it happens very quickly with some people. For other people, it can be 2 or 3 months later, or it could be 2 years later. They feel like they've been going on this business for a couple of years now. They don't seem to be getting the motivation that they used to get. And things start to happen. You start to stay away from the meetings. You find excuses for why things are not working well for you. And you find faults with the business, or with your customers, or with the products. And the thing to do when that happens is to go back to your attitude. If you remember, if during this time you've been achieving your goals, you've been repeatedly doing your actions and getting little successes, then that great attitude leads you to like a fight stage. You start to sort of think, hold on a minute, hold on, this was working fine a few months ago, nothing's changed, it's me that's changed. And your attitude becomes a never give up attitude, believing that success is just around the corner. And you start focusing on your goals, not on the obstacles. As I said, every path that leads anywhere meaningful will have obstacles. But if you're just focusing on the obstacles all the time, you're not focusing on your successes and your achievements. And then once you realize that, once you get your mind turned around again, you start going back to the events, you start communicating with your upline and with your team members, and that really takes you kind of through the obstacles and onwards towards your successes. So, a quick question for you. Sorry, I've been waffling on now getting on for half an hour now, but we've come towards the end. A quick question for you guys. Has anyone got anything they'd like to share with us? What are your goals for the next kind of 3 months or so from your Kleeneze business? What would you like to achieve? Anyone got anything you'd like to share? I'll give you mine then, just while you're thinking about it. I'm really keen to qualify for Venice. I've never been to Venice before, and the way we're aiming to get to Venice to finish in the top 10 of the new business table. And at the moment we're at number 2, which I'm really, really pleased about, because it's, we've kind of been working pretty hard this year, and so far things are going well. But my goal is to get to number 1, because my view is if I can get at number 1, then it would take 9 pretty amazing efforts to knock me out of the top 10. So that's what I'm going for. I'm really looking forward to going to Venice. Giselle, that's great, having an established client base. Is there something, I mean, having a client base is great, Giselle, and that's kind of what we're all heading towards. But with the money you earned from that, is there anything that you would like to buy, or that you would treat yourself to in 3 months' time, say, if you You were happy with your progress? Maybe not. While you're thinking about that, similar question, has anyone got any longer term goals then? What would people like to achieve in a year's time or in 5 years? Has anyone got any long term goals they'd like to share for us? Can't decide what to put first. Oh, that's great. That's great, Giselle. I think when you've got lots of goals, it's good because then you can decide which one to go for first. Go for that. Once you've achieved that one, you know the next one on your list, and it just allows you to go from one achievement to the next, which is great for your attitude because it just you're just constantly having these little successes. Anyway, I would say, guys, have a think about. Well, here's a good one. I'll take your 7-year-old son on his first airplane. Oh, what a fantastic story that would be. Gosh, I can't imagine being 7 years old and going on your first aeroplane. That must be so exciting. I think the pleasure of doing something like that would be brilliant. So, Alf, I think that's a fantastic goal, mate, and I'm sure you'll be able to achieve that. Just as I say, work out how much that's going to cost you, what you need to do in the business to be able to afford that, and get your head down, get those catalogues out, team members sorted, and I'm sure that'll be on your list of ticked things to do. Pablo, that's good. Having a pension, that would be great. Being able to kind of retire on your Kleeneze earnings, having a team that's paying you a pension every month is a great goal. I hope you've got some nice ideas of what you would do with your time. Okay, let's just move on a little bit. The question you need to ask yourself, everyone who's thought about what your goals are you taking those actions that will inevitably lead to that result? Because all you can really do, you can't control, the going on the aeroplane or the having the pension directly. But what you can do is you can decide if you're going to put your catalogues out, or if you're going to deliver those leaflets, or if you're going to talk to 5 people in the coffee shop today, or whatever it is. As long as you're taking those actions and you do that regularly every day, every week, then they will inevitably lead to that result. And I say inevitably because it's been happening all the time. John Hawkes, one of my mentors who's with us this evening, been in the business for 20 odd years now, and I know that if I just follow what John has been doing for 20 years, then that will inevitably lead to the successes that I'm aiming for. And that's what you need to look at. You just need to see somebody in the business who's doing what you did, and maybe they did it 5 or 10 years ago, and they've now achieved what you would like out of the business. And I find that really, really motivating, because then you know that this works. You just need to keep doing what you know you should be doing. Okay, guys, I'm just about wrapping it up now. As you can see there, this was number 7, Goals and Attitude. Next week is specifically about personal development. If you remember earlier on in this webinar, I talked about one of the other ways to get a great attitude is to have some strong life philosophies, and that's what I talk about in number 8. So if you were like me a couple of years ago, if someone said to me, "What are your life philosophies?" I wouldn't have had a clue what you were talking about. Excuse me. So I hope that's aroused your curiosity a little bit, and you'll join us all next week. Finally, as I said earlier, I record all of these webinars, so this one is being recorded as we speak. In fact, I'll just turn it off now.